Hello everyone, Mr. Wolf Recaps here. Today I'm going to explain the film called Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Relax and enjoy. The movie opens with a U.S. Army convoy on its way to a U.S. military installation Hangar 51. When they reach the gate, they are stopped by some soldiers who are guarding the hangar. Lo and behold, the U.S. Army officials in the convoy are revealed to be undercover Russian agents led by Colonel Antonenchenko and driver Ines Balko. The Russians gunned down the U.S. soldiers guarding the gate before making their way into the warehouse. There are two American hostages. Archaeology professor Indiana Jones and his companion Mack are pulled out of a car's trunk. It turns out Jones is supposed to help the Russians find a crate in the warehouse, which contains a valuable object that allegedly fell from the sky 10 years ago. Jones was part of the committee formed by the U.S. government to investigate the object. He initially refuses to help with the Russians threaten to kill his buddy Max. So he reluctantly complies. After a while the group enters the warehouse and Jones uses gunpowder and cracked gun shells to locate the crate because the box's contents are highly magnetized. It's then revealed that the crate contains a humanoid form wrapped in a silver material. However, as Dr. Sparko cuts open the silver material, Jones grabs hold of a gun, passing another one to his friend Mack. Jones threatens to shoot Dr. Sparko, thinking she is in complete control of the situation. Lo and behold, Mack turns the gun on Jones, revealing that he is actually colluding with the Russians. Jones is taken aback, but he manages to distract the Soviets and get away as the soldiers chase after Jones. Spelko attempts to drive off with the crate. Jones tries to stop her and retrieve the crate. He succeeds but is eventually forced to abandon the crate and escape to save his life. He walks all night through the desert until he finds shelter in a small town. However, he soon realizes that there are no inhabitants other than various mannequins. Suddenly, a warning siren goes off and it's revealed that he's in a doomed town, a town created for the purpose of an atomic bomb test. Realizing that a nuclear bomb is about to flatten the town, Jones scrambles to find a shelter and ultimately seals himself in a lead-lined refrigerator. Seconds later the bomb detonates and Doom Town has totally obliterated. The fridge containing Jones is blasted across the desert, which protects him from the deadly radiation. Jones is eventually found and he is interrogated by the FBI about the Hangar 51 heist. The FBI suspects Jones of being a Russian agent because he helped them break into Hangar 51 with his associate Mack, who was revealed to be a double agent. However, General Robert Ross vouches for Jones and gets the FBI off his back. General Ross then briefs Jones about Balko and reveals that she's Stalin's favorite scientist. She specializes in psychic research science and she is leading teams from the Kremlin. Her main agenda is scooping up artifacts that she thinks might have paranormal military applications. Afterwards, Jones returns to his university in Bedford, Connecticut to teach, but he is quickly sent away on a temporary break with full pay because of the FBI investigation. Jones is dejected as the past few years have been very tough because both his dad and mentor have passed away. To refresh his mind, he decides to go to New York as John's train starts to leave. He is approached by a young man named Mark Williams, who informs him about the danger to his close archaeologist friend Harold Oxley. This grabs Jones' attention and he cancels his plan to go to New York. Jones and then acquaint themselves with each other, and it's revealed that Matt's father died in the war and Oxley helped his mother raise him 6 months ago. Oxley sent a letter to my mother and told her that he's in Peru where he has discovered a crystal skull which looks similar to the elusive Mitchell Hedges skull that was stolen from Decatur and mythical Lost City, made of solid gold in the Amazon in the 15th century. Legend has it that the Alga tribe of the region were chosen by the gods 7,000 years ago to build the giant city out of solid gold. It had aqueducts and paved roads and technology that wouldn't appear again for 5,000 years. Discovering the skull has put Oxley's life in danger and he is heading to the Decatur with the skull. It's believed that whoever returns the skull to the city temple will be given control over its power. Many have lost their lives looking for the last city, including a conquistador named Francisco Tuorolana, who is believed to have been searching for the skull before vanishing mysteriously. Not reveals that his mother Mary Williams joined Oxley and his mission, but both of them got kidnapped by goons who are looking for the skull. However, Oxley has hidden the skull somewhere and he refuses to hand it over to them no matter what. So the goons have ordered Mary to bring the skull to save Oxley's life. Matt tells Jones that his mother knows him and she believes that only Jones can find the skull, not then hands him a letter Mary mailed to him. Suddenly two KGB agents appear and try to capture them, but Jones and Mark manage to escape. In the next scene, Jones reads the letter, which is a series of clues left and a riddle written in a dead language. He decodes the puzzle and figures out that the skull must be in Moscow, Peru. Hence the two immediately fly to Peru. There they learn that Oxley was seen wandering around like a madman. so he was admitted into a sanatorium by the locals before he was kidnapped. In Oxley's cell at the sanatorium, Jones discovers that he had drawn a location to Oral on his cradle where he may possibly have hidden the skull. Jones deduces that the cradle actually means Oral owned his birthplace, not his final resting place. That night, they visit Orellana's tomb where they are attacked by two cemetery warriors. However, Jones effortlessly defeats them, and as they walk through the grave, the two eventually find 7 mummified beings at the bottom of the grave. They find Francisco Tuorel on his armor-clad corpse and realize that someone has already opened them. Lo and behold, Jones finds the real crystal skull hidden behind the corpse. Shocked, they prepare to leave. But just then they find themselves surrounded by Soviets, including Mack, Divchenko and Sparko. It turns out the Russians kidnapped Oxley and they were the ones who opened Orelin his mummy in search of the skull. Johnson mother immediately captured and taken to a Soviet camp in the middle of the jungle in Brazil. There Jones reunites with a drunken Mack and chastises him for betraying his trust. In his defense, Mack says that he did it for money and encourages him to join hands with the Russians. Then Sparko arrives and reveals that she wants to take the skull back to Acater and gain the power of mind control. She says the Russians wish to win the war using the greatest weapon of all, the mind. Jones laughs at the suggestion as he believes that these are all myths. However, Balko disagrees. She strongly believes that the skull was not made by human hands, and the proof is the alien corpse she stole from Hangar 51 and other parts of the world. The aliens' bones are also made of crystal, and she hypothesizes that the aliens are probably distant cousins sent to find Acater. She then brings John's friend Professor Oxley, who lost control of his mind due to his overexposure to the skull. Apparently, the skull stimulates an underdeveloped part of the human brain, opening a psychic channel through which it guides the person to the Acater. Jones is relieved to see his friend and he tries to talk some sense into him, but to no avail. Spelka reveals that Oxley can lead them to the Acater, but she needs someone to interpret him, therefore she wants Jones to be hypnotized by the skull. As for some reason the skull doesn't interact with her, Jones is then made to stare into the eyes of the magical skull and something transiently takes over him. With this, Spelko becomes excited and she begins to imagine Russians placing their thoughts into the minds of American leaders. Meanwhile, Skull almost takes over Jones and he starts to violently shake. Despite betraying him, Mack worries for Jones and he asks Spelko to stop before the skull's powers kill Jones. However, Spelko is unfazed. Instead, she orders Jones to speak to Oxley by threatening to kill Mutt and his mother. Lo and behold, Mom's mother Mary is revealed to be John's ex-girlfriend, Marion Ravenwood, who had also been kidnapped. Mary is glad to see Jones, but she's also upset with him because he broke up with her a week before their wedding as he felt it wouldn't work out. After a brief Becker fest with his ex, Jones deciphers Oxley's riddles and locates the Temple of Acater. On their way to the temple, Jones learns that Mutt is actually his son. Much to the astonishment of both of them, soon the family manages to escape after an intense battle. Mack also accompanies them and it's revealed that he's actually a CIA agent. After surviving 3 progressively higher waterfalls, the group enters a cavern shaped like a human head with a waterfall sprouting from its eyes. Inside a tunnel, they come across paintings, which revealed that the extraterrestrial beings taught the Alga tribes about agriculture. Suddenly, the group encounters some angry Alga natives who chase them out of the cave and into the open on the other side of the tunnel. However, Oxley shows the locals the skull, which calms them down and they retreat. Afterwards, they climb up a Mayan pyramid, and Jones finds a way to enter it. Meanwhile, Sparko and the remaining Russians track Jones using a tracking device. Jones and others enter a temple which contains artifacts from all over the world. Next, they unlock a huge red door which opens into a chamber with 13 crystal skeletons, all of them sitting in ornate gold thrones. Oxley walks up to the only skeleton with no head, and as he proceeds to place the skull back, Mack pulls a gun and orders him to stop. It turns out he lied about being a CIA stalker, and the Russian soldiers also arrived after gunning down the AKA tried brutally. Spilka was mesmerized by the beauty of the skeletons, noting that they are a hive mind of separate bodies, but have a single mentality. She then places the missing skull back where it belongs. The skeleton seemingly comes to life and Oxley begins to speak in mind for Oxley. The crystal skeletons expressed gratitude to Spilka for returning the skull and offer to give her a gift. She asked for knowledge, keeping their promise. The skeletons transfer all their knowledge into Spelko's mind. In the process, the room begins to rotate and a portal opens up above, threatening to suck everyone in. Fortunately, Oxley gains his sanity back and rushes out of the chamber with others while the Russians and Mack are sucked in. Meanwhile, as Falco is receiving streams of knowledge, the skeletons begin to converge into one. However, the psychic link makes Falco far too weak to sustain all the knowledge being sent to her and she pleads for it to stop. Sadly, The being refused is, and it becomes apparent that it's aware of her evil intentions, which explains why the skull would not speak to her previously. A raging fire starts in Spellco's brain and rapidly spreads to her whole body, disintegrating her as the rest of the group escape. Giant stone wheels wreck the temple. From an elevation, the group watch a giant dark gray alien saucer emerge from the base of the temple ground and disappear in the sky. The void is then filled with water from the river. Not wonders why Acator was called the City of Gold, and Jones answers that the Igbo word for gold is treasure and the treasure was knowledge. The movie that ends with Jones and Mary marrying with the blessings of their son Maud. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel.